So we just got done listening to the story The Raven, which is a story of how we got the sun. And we looked, it's from the Northwest Native Americans. So we're going to kind of make a scenery where we have some evergreen trees and that they're reflecting in the water. There are two different ways we could do our raven. We could cut it out with construction paper or crayons, but we're going to do the raven next week. So the first thing I need to do is on my paper here at the bottom, I'm going to make my horizon line. And my horizon line is where my sky meets the ground, or in this case, it meets the lake. And the first thing I said we're going to do is draw some trees. And it's always fun to dig in a box of crayons to try to find a brown. Oh, here's one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a few of my trees. And I want my trees, if you notice, trees get a little bit bigger at the bottom. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more weight down here at the bottom. And then down here in the water kind of reflects. So I'm going to make the wavy reflection of my tree in the water. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple of different greens. Now we're going to paint these. So I did push really hard with my crayon. Look, if I don't push hard or if I do push hard, I don't want you to push so hard that your crayon breaks, but you need to push a little bit harder than that. To make my evergreen trees, I'm just going to kind of keep going over my tree. If you want to, you could really lightly make a triangle, because again, it's getting bigger as I get down here towards the bottom. And I might want to use some different greens in there. Same thing, I might want to really lightly draw my triangle. And then same thing for my one in the water. I'm going to draw some triangles. And again, I'm going to draw the wavy reflection of my trees. I would say if you can find a couple of different greens in your crayon box, awesome. And we're using crayons and not oil pastels. You could use either one, but these have more wax in them, so we can watercolor over the top of them and you won't see it as much. So I'm coloring in on my triangle. I can use the lighter green. Please don't do that. Okay. To add some different colors in there. Along the side of my water, I'm going to kind of color it green because we had a lot of bushes. And then I can make it kind of wavy down here in the bottom. Make it look like some grasses or some bushes. If you want to, up in the sky, I can make some clouds. And we're not going to draw a sun yet because the sun needs to go in the raven's mouth. So again, I need to push kind of hard with everything. When I'm all done, I'm going to get my trays of blue paint, blues and green paints. I'm going to wake those colors up. And you can even use a little bit of purple because it's a night sky. I'm going to get my paper wet. I just want to get it wet so that it helps my paint flow a little bit better. And then I'm going to just add my paint. And notice where I have my crayons, the paint goes right over the top. So I can paint all the way down to my grass, to my horizon line. The horizon line is where your sky meets your ground. And then I'm going to paint my lake. Now, this has a lot of water on it. So I'm just going to leave it on my table to dry for a little bit. That is step 1, day 1. Okay. Last week we painted our background for the raven. And we painted the northwest. We did some evergreen trees. We did a horizon line, some grass, and then we did a reflection into the water. Today we're going to make our raven. I have drawn a raven pattern for you. And when you get your raven and you trace it, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to give it a neck. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to give it the bottom part. So I'm going to make the wings separate, the stomach separate, and the tail separate. I'm also going to do his beak. So once you've separated all those parts, you can start to do the decoration. Your raven is going to fit on your paper like this. I'm going to trace mine so it's a little bit easier for you to see in a white Cray-Pas. But if you notice, it all fits on your paper. So like I said before, I'm going to separate where the beak is. I'm going to separate where the head is, one wing, the other wing, and the tail. Now, when I decorate my bird today, I'm going to decorate it first before I cut it out. That will keep me from getting Cray-Pas all over the floor, all over my table. I'm going to go ahead and draw some of my designs in a white oil pastel. Don't worry about your eye. We'll cut an eye out later, because if we glued our eye on now, it would just get so messy. But I'm going to start out with a design on my raven's stomach. I'm going to put some designs on his tail. And then on his wings, I'm going to put a design here. And what we're going to do on the wings is, if I make an oval shape on this side, I also need to make an oval shape on that side. So whatever I do on one side, I need to do in the other. And these are Northwest Native American designs. So I'm going to keep them, I want to fill it up with a lot of different patterns.
That looks really good.
And I'm going to go ahead and add some more designs in here. And if you notice on the beak, I'm going to do a different design on the beak. When you're all done, we are using our oil pastels to color them. And I will say, the great thing about oil pastels is that they look so much better when you overlap two colors. On its head, what kind of design do I want to put on his head? I think I'm just going to put I can color something, like maybe I'm going to color this circle a light green. Then I can come back over it with some blue, because I want lots of pattern. Lots of pattern when I am doing this. Then maybe, here's my favorite. I love white, because if you put white on a Cray-Pas, it makes it pop right off the page. So I'm going to take my time. I don't have to color the whole thing. I do want some spaces that are going to be black. And I know in my older grades, they like something that's called ombre, where something goes lighter to darker. So I colored all of that purple, and then maybe I come in and do a little bit of light pink at the top. And see, they all blend together. If I colored this red, I can come in with some pink as well. And that kind of gives it, it's lighter on the outside. So you can use as many different colors as you want. You can come back in and add some extra detail. Again, the more colorful and the more colors you use on your raven, the better off they look. Okay, when you're all done coloring, I would go wash your hands so you don't get Cray Pot everywhere. And you are going to cut your raven out. Cut your raven out. Cut the beak out. Cut between the mouth, his beak, the top part of his beak, and the bottom part of his beak. So when you're done, you're going to do your raven eye. I would get a pencil, and I'll give you a little piece of paper. Cut your eye out. And again, you want your hands clean. And I'll give you the right size of eyeball so that you can cut out when you do that. And then the last thing you need to do is cut out your sun. And I'm just going to cut my corners off my paper. Cut the corners. So I have a nice big sun, and I'm going to put the sun in my raven's mouth. Once I've done with all of that, your raven is going to get glued high in the sky of your final. And that's what your final should look like.
Except for you can, it's a different pattern.